and welcome to a brand new episode of The Film Angle, or should I say, as you've probably read from the title of the episode, the Ghibli Angle, the series where I take Alex, navigate him through the world of Studio Ghibli, except my credentials have been taken away from me today, Alex, as you know, because this is the very one I have not seen. And I feel like a lot of people probably fall in this category too. If you're going to miss any Ghibli film by accident or just not get around to it, Ocean Waves, the film that we're talking about today, seems to be the one. And we're going to talk about whether that deserves to be the case, or we're going to tell you to rush out and see it. So, Alex, are you excited? Were you excited about this one? Did you have any preconceptions of what Ocean Waves was?
As you know, I go into all of these with a completely open mind because I feel like I'm getting a different Ghibli every week. Obviously, there was an element of me that kind of maybe saw this one as like more on the peripherals of Ghibli, maybe a little bit slight. I think you introduced this last time, so I knew a little bit about it in terms of this was kind of like the more junior staff members in Ghibli given a chance to kind of flex their animation muscles and kind of were given a project to work on to show what they could do. And so, yeah, I think, you kind of hear things that like this is people's like maybe like least favorite Ghibli or a Ghibli that just like isn't the same as the others.
Yeah.
But dare I say, I was pleasantly surprised.
Wow.
So, even the bad Ghibli is good.
See, that's like comparison in a genre, in a studio like this is really like a double-edged sword because, for a film to be considered a bad Ghibli film is just like it is everybody else is great in a way. And I know I have a bit of bias to the studio because I love it so much. And Alex, you've kind of been like sort of midway in some of the Ghibli films. Like you're like, I like it, but not in love with it. And then the odd one or two, like Nausicaa, has really sort of blown you away.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. This was mostly the younger staff members of Ghibli at the time, comprised mostly of guys and girls in their 20s and 30s, which is quite a good creative muscle to pull for a project like this because it's about young people. It's about young people navigating the tumultuous emotions of their youth, going through school and for all the way up into their college years. And it's no better than people who've just experienced that like 10 years ago to kind of maybe share their experiences on this. Yeah, if you look on website publications like Variety or Empire magazine, you'll notice that like Ocean Waves comes like bottom of the list and like the top tier when they rank out their Ghibli films. And I can't help but think after watching this, Alex, is were they just like us? Did they not see the movie? It is very slight. This is a 72-minute long film.
Yeah.
And most notable for being the first Ghibli film not directed by either Isao Takahata or Hayao Miyazaki. It was directed by Tomomi Mochizuki, who was 34 years old at the time whenever he directed this film. And I can't help but think, Alex, how much pressure and weight from their elders in the studio there must have been over these young guys making a project like this. One, to impress the studio, make this a thing that like, yeah, we can do this on our own. And also to just go their own way and make their own story without feeling like they're in the shadow. And I feel like this project really is not afraid of being its own thing. There's probably most similarities with the previous film of Takahata's Only Yesterday in terms of its nostalgia and its focus on memory and reflection.
Some of the style as well feels very Takahata. It feels almost like a spiritual spin-off to something like Only Yesterday,
like white
vignettes.
It?
Yeah, which I really like because, as you know, Only Yesterday is like one of my faves.
Oh, same.
Yeah, one of my faves. Battling for that first top in a ranked list for me. So, I was, I kind of like the vibe. I like the vibe. This was a TV movie, though, right? So I guess maybe the pressure was off to make money. Though I heard they went over budget whilst making this, which feels like the same story you get with every Ghibli film.
Yeah.
They're really not good at making budgets.
Well, and that was actually primarily the point of, right, this was a prototype movie. It's like, right, maybe we can start making TV movies. We're a bit of a household name as a studio now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can have this separate division that makes them. Turned out to be not economically viable at all. So it was kind of like a one and done. But it's a real shame. And I really want today to be like an exercise of maybe like, well, maybe this deserves to be resurfaced, because I felt like it did. Only yesterday, as a comparison point, is like, again, a small movie that's very gargantuan in its themes, and it feels like a small epic of this young woman's life. This film feels even smaller. It is only 72 minutes, and it's episodic in nature too. Like we get snapshot moments. I mean, it's you can almost think of this film as comprised by like 6 very long scenes. Um, but it's
Yeah, I guess so.
I thought it moved I thought it moved beautifully. I One of the big things I think that carries this film a lot for me, Alex, was the music. And then,
Mm-hmm.
like, Joe Hisashi, we've enjoyed his scores for basically every Studio Ghibli film so far, but this is the first time we've deviated, and I'm freaking in love with the music in this film, man. I don't know about you, like
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you, did it sound familiar to you? Did
well,
it? Because it sounded to me like it was like a rendition of Moon River. Like,
well, that's
Moon
quite interesting. And you're
River.
thinking about the water too,
But
yeah.
it doesn't follow it fully. Like it's just like
Yeah.
that first kind of couple of notes. I'm
It's
like,
a saxophone.
are they
And it goes,
doing Moon River?
"Da, na,
Because
na, na,
what do they
na,
do
na."
at the end of
Yeah.
Only Yesterday? Because they use a kind of a funny song there, don't they?
Yeah,
But like works
some
really
say
well.
love, the rose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some say love. But obviously in Japanese, I won't do that.
Which is like super profound and poignant in Japanese, but if that was in English, it would be so hokey.
I just wondered if they were doing the same thing, taking like this kind of pop song, Western pop song, and kind of turning it into a bit of a melody. But yeah, no, it's
As far as I know, that's an original piece of music.
yes, it's just those first couple of notes remind me of Moon River, and I was like, Moon River.
Yeah, it does have because it literally goes dun 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 dun. So it
Yeah.
does sound a little bit like that with a few extra notes. But like, I loved it, and it was that piece of music that turned into a motif that kind of was the soundtrack of the movie. It was like they had two songs, and are like, you're going to hear a lot of these. We're confident that these are really great songs that they really captured the. I guess, right. Let's paint the picture here, right?
Yes,
The
yeah. For
story.
people who haven't seen it, and there might be a lot of people who haven't seen it because they said it's lesser known. Can I just ask you one question before you paint the story?
Yeah.
Is this like the last piece of the puzzle for you in the Ghibli film world?
Yeah, it is.
So how did that feel? Were you like, I'm a completionist, I've done it?
The only feeling, the feeling I had, watching this on a Saturday afternoon, pissing down with rain outside, was like, this is so nice. I felt like I was on a summer holiday yesterday watching this movie. But I was both really disappointed in myself that I had been stalling on this for so long, and I trusted a lot of people like there as to thinking like, oh, like if you happen to step on this by accident and watch this, it's not a waste of your time, but like, it's not the best. I completely dismissed that right now, and I dismissed my way of thinking previously. It was really great, and to finally fulfill that, and I don't think this will be the last time I watch it too. So yeah, just a gleeful disappointment in myself. I guess it's two emotions there I'm feeling.
Fair enough. All right, paint the picture.
Well, first of all, got to not butcher the names. The main character of the story, Taku, he is a young guy. We meet him at the beginning of the story.
He kind of tells the story in reverse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
well, not reverse. Sorry, he tells almost very similar to Only Yesterday, was it? Where it's like even though he's not as old as the character in Only Yesterday, talking about her past, he's talking about his past at school, but he's only like maybe a year or two out from it.
Yeah, visually, nothing's really changed much.
Yes.
Yeah, so the first scene is the last scene of the movie. So it's bookended by itself. We meet Taku at a train station who spies a girl the opposite platform who he obviously recognizes, or he was romantically involved with some period of time. I'm sure we'll get to know in the story, and we end up doing. And this rush of memories comes back in timeline order, going back to school, and it's about the Taku and his school friend Yutaka, who are two friends who like seem to have a really strong bond. They're both very clever guys in school. They have a rural high school on an island, which seems quite upmarket, but like quite countrified too. Like these people have money,
Yeah.
for like
There's
a
a lot of
term.
money talk in this film, isn't there, in terms of like who has and hasn't got it, and lots of kind of like stuff to do with accents again. I believe this doesn't have
Dialects.
an English dub.
The only Ghibli film without
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
English dub. They were planning to do a dub in 2008 or 2009, and Ryan Reynolds was supposed to play Taku. Yeah, well,
Ooh,
yeah. They
no.
they dropped it, I think, out of lack of interest. Eventually,
Yes.
but interesting because we see most anime films would have an English dub, even the smaller companies, and it's just interesting that a Ghibli film doesn't. But no,
who would you? I know I'm going off course here, but
well,
like,
I gotta say, like, first of all, like, I know I'm a little bit like with the English dubs anyway, but I feel like most of them like justify themselves in the Ghibli canon. I feel like this is the one where we just wouldn't get away with it. I feel like the script is I think it's too subtle of a script, and I think a lot of the good work that's done in this film is both visual and subtle. So I don't think it really lends itself to that. But
if you had to cast Taku,
it would have to be it'd have to be so subtle. I mean, like,
I feel like a Tom Holland might be good. Maybe
I was thinking,
or am I just going to like the first young actor I can think of?
And well, later on we'll talk about it much later in the series. But Joseph Gordon-Levitt does a voice of one character later on in one of Miyazaki's films, and I was really surprised by the gentleness of his touch in that character. So maybe him, but Tom Holland, yeah, just say Mr. Stark. I don't know about that.
Well, maybe he would use his English, like his actual
English
accent, which I'm messing up. Do you know? All right, I'm gonna cast this here for you now. I was thinking about Tom Holland, but then I thought, the perfect cast for this is just the cast of challengers. I think Mike Feist, Josh O'Connor, and Zendaya done. I think there's a lot of challengers vibes here, but maybe we'll get into that later.
Well, there you go. Well, that is the crux of the story, really. This is a love triangle movie. So Taku, we get introduced to his best friend Yutaka and their relationship, but we get introduced to their relationship by Yutaka being very, very excited and wanting to tell Taku that there's a new girl who's an exchange student. Well, she's moved from Tokyo onto this island, and she's a transfer student called Rikako. And everybody in the school is both like annoyed, infatuated by her, feels demeaned by her, and everything. This is a very
she's like a city girl, isn't she?
She's a city girl
from the city. Nobody knows what to make of her, but we all know she's very pretty.
She's very pretty. She's very smart. She's also like, she beats the tennis captain on their first match.
She's very good at tennis. Yes,
she's good at everything, but also quite spiky and keeps herself to herself. Yeah, but she's going through a lot of stuff.
She's going for a lot, but she's a bit mean, man.
She is a bit mean, but
they're all a bit mean to each other at times as well, though.
Yeah,
but that's like the beauty and the messiness of youth.
Exactly, and I feel like a lot of people don't like the movie because they rub up against her character quite a lot, or struggle to see. This isn't a film where it's like Taku is like love at first sight. He is like infatuated by her. He's curious about her because everybody else is infatuated by her, and he wants to hang around and see why. He wants to finally get the eureka moment as to like why this girl is so amazing and why everybody wants to be around her. But every interaction he has with her, she wants something out of him. The first time they go on a school trip to Hawaii because their other one is cancelled to Kyoto. I mean, it seems like they got the better end of the deal eventually. So yeah, and she the first sort of interaction she has with him, she's like, "Oh, can you lend me like $400 because I lost my money?" Which turns out to be a massive lie. That she was actually didn't lose the money, and she just wanted the money to go visit her father in Tokyo because her parents are going through a really rough divorce. which is kind of like a backbone as to why she's kind of up and down all over the place.
Yes, yeah.
Um, confused youth, and this is what it is. This is what the film is really. Essentially, it is about the confusion of youth. About I think the movie explicitly says it itself that I wish one of the characters says, "I wish I didn't look back in those moments. That they were all the world to me. Like
Yes.
everything back then felt so much bigger than it actually is because I was in my bubble."
Yes.
And that is so true. You know, every
That
time you
is,
were,
yeah.
you know, think as a teenager, you annoyed at your parents or something, or you know, it felt so much bigger and insurmountable than it actually was. You look back now, it's not till you leave school that you actually look back on it fondly, and you don't realize it in the moment. Well, depending on your
Sometimes.
well, youth in general, like they always say, youth is
Yeah.
wasted on the youth, and like you know, this film is kind of in conversation with that.
Yes, it's very good at that, and it's very good at like kind of getting into the kind of messiness of being a bit of a teenage boy, and also has a few like kind of like pervy moments, which isn't always natural of a Ghibli film, lots of like ogling and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Which
but here it feels sort of it's occasional, and it feels correct to the characters. Yeah.
it feels like I'm telling the story from the point of view of a teenage boy, and this is what teenage boys would be thinking about. And it's like, yeah, that completely makes sense in the kind of story that we're telling, and I appreciate it. I think, you know.
Yeah, and Taku as our main character isn't really displayed as being one of the more, you know, ogling sort of like guys. He's I think at one point when there's like a very large breasted girl playing tennis, and then they're all like saying, look over there, and he's like, yeah, I know, they're big. So he's not as his head's not as turned. Yeah.
Do you think that's because maybe he has eyes for his best friend Yukato or Yuka?
No, this is something I after I was quite infatuated by the film. So afterwards, I did a little bit of like just love to see a little bit of temperature check where people were with this film now, because my opinion of what the film was came from like 10 years ago. So I saw, yeah. Did you see the essay video on YouTube of somebody say like it's a viral video that went a couple of
Oh,
years ago, over 2 million views on YouTube, of a guy talking about the accidental gay story in Ocean Waves, and
oh.
I can see a case for it, although I'm not convinced.
I can
Yeah,
see a case for it as well. I was like, this feels like the romance is between these two. Like, you know, the story is told with him being like, oh, well, I'm gonna tell you how I met my friend Yutaka, and you know, there's a bit of a meet cute, and even in the final kind of moments, I would say like the most romantic moment of the film is between the two of them as they kind of sit on like a pier and watch out
yeah,
as the ocean waves.
it's like that's my favorite scene in the movie. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's romantic, I think, in
yeah,
a
it's like
sense.
they have a car journey, like you know these
They
boys are
make
like
up, you know.
yeah, like this is kind of a semi-invisible love triangle for for
Mm,
most of the film. Like Taku and Yutaka, I feel like most of the time they both know each other are interested, but they're like keeping it under the pot from like
yes,
surfacing and
not with
becoming
each
an
other though. I
argument.
guess. I think you mean with the girl.
Yeah, exactly. This is
Yeah,
I'm kind of getting to that part of it a little bit,
yeah. Because I
but
guess like obviously, you know, the film is not explicitly saying like there is no point in the film where they say these two fancy each other, like as in the two boys. Like it is a friendship, but I think there are moments where it's like this feels more romantic than it should be, that maybe the animators, the people behind the film, were like, we can only do so much in 1993 Japan,
yeah,
but like
I
you know, we're gonna push the fact that these boys have a very very strong close relationship that like borders on romantic.
well, yeah. I mean, anytime anybody says anything negative about Yutaka, Taku's like the first one to kind of go in and like, you know, shout down anybody who. But he's like that with everybody. He's like that with Rikaku as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and so what I was saying was their sort of love triangle is a little bit invisible to start with, and they kind of keep it at bay from each other. And it's almost like their friendship is like the ultimate thing. That's the prize thing that cannot be sort of affected or you
Mm.
know, demounted. But later on, it kind of gets a little bit more intense, and slaps are had, and you know, at one point,
Fists are
Yutaka
thrown.
punches Taku in the
Mm.
face, for like for his perception of him upsetting Rikaku.
Mm.
And then years later, whenever they meet up during college, or that scene you were talking about, I love that car journey that they have together,
Mm.
where the first thing, like, Yutaka has to get out of his head. Yes, I'm so sorry for punching you years ago, and they just go back to being friends pretty much instantly. And then you're right, the music swells, that sort of Moon River esque sort of saxophone starts building, and they're on the pier. We spent a whole hour together that night, and it's like, it is very romantic
It
in a way.
is. It
It's
is. It
almost
is.
it's almost like, it's hard to, it's not it feels somewhere in between like real intense platonic friendship and sexuality. It's almost like
Yeah.
this ultimate bromance in a way.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, like, this film is, I think, again, going back to the music, it's such a big part of it for me, because I feel like youth is a big part of that, where our emotions cannot really be articulated, and even the film maybe might struggle with that sometimes. And sometimes the only thing that can like make up for that is these overt melodramatic pieces of music that, like, I at least I completely understand the yearning that the character is going
Mm.
through just by listening to this bleeding saxophone and piano, and I think the film has a really great visual flair too. I think this is like one of the only Ghibli films I think of that I almost felt like there was a camera controlling. There's a lot of static shots,
Yeah.
and like in focus, out of focus, which is really cool and beautiful. And
And
yeah,
I like just some of the landscape scenes as well.
yeah,
Like we're just
architecture,
like,
yeah,
yeah, which you don't see a lot of, because we a lot of the time in the Ghibli world we're kind of quite fantastical, and we're in in a merge between industry and forest and fairy tales and all
yeah,
that kind of stuff. So that, like, when you actually see like what is supposed to be a modern, or modern to the 90s Japanese cityscape, uh like, I was just like, oh, this is great. And they've got like brands this time. Like, there's a really detailed like Sprite can at one
yeah.
point. I think they do cartoons on the TV, and I'm just like, I don't know, there was something so cozy about this that I was just like, oh, if this wasn't animated, it would be just as good.
Yeah, it's equally a film about nostalgia,
Yeah.
and it's funny. I think Japanese films and like Ghibli films have this really potent power for like feeling nostalgia for something that we have no sort of like, sort of echo in our lives. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have this reality, but yeah, I'm like, oh, 80s, 90s Tokyo. This looks
Yeah.
amazing. Like, I feel like I should have walked here. I should have walked these streets sometime. It's
Yes.
beautiful,
Though
and yeah.
we have both been teenage boys.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
So, and I think there's a lot of crossover there, which is maybe why, I don't know, I kind of felt quite affected by this. I do think the film suffers from being a little bit too short. I think where it doesn't like reach the heights of being like perfection,
Yeah.
or like maybe in the upper echelon of Ghibli films, is maybe just because I kind of wanted a bit more time with these characters, and I wanted a little bit more kind of space to kind of explore these relationships and get further into that. Because I feel at the end of the day, Rikako is kind of because she's a little bit cold and she's a little bit mean and a little bit all over the place.
Mm.
I don't think she gets kind of like a well serviced ending. Like, maybe Taku's kind of love for her and seeing her at the train station doesn't feel as like big and grand, because it's kind of like, I don't know if I love her yet, and I don't know if she reciprocates his love for her in
Yeah.
the same way either. So I would have liked to have maybe just kind of like had a
Jeez.
bit more time in the past between them, and kind of figuring out their kind of relationship. And again, because the film ends with a bit of a school reunion, and there's characters,
Confessing love for people that they never admitted to. Yeah.
exactly. But I was like, I don't remember these guys, and it's only been a 72-minute film. I don't know who these guys are. So like, just a little bit more time in the school, kind of maybe having a few kind of side stories with some of those characters in the school, so that like those moments just kind of land a little bit harder.
Yeah.
It does suffer from being 72 minutes, even though I liked how short it was. But like,
Yeah.
I was like, this is on the cusp of being like really emotional, really great.
I know what you mean. And like, and like, even those characters, we had no time with them, but there was somehow the humor kind of still paid off too, because you had the heavier built guy, I forget his name, but he was like drunk on the night of the reunion, and he was confessing his love for Yumi, but she hadn't turned up yet, and by the time she turned up, he was on the floor drooling.
Yeah.
And then they all go for a walk afterwards, and he's chilling behind. And I'm like, I don't even know this guy, but I'm laughing.
Yeah.
So it does a really good job of that. And you're right, maybe like a couple more scenes would have really made us fall in love with these characters and be like
Yeah.
invested in that past. Yeah, because you're right. I do feel like Rikako, she's underserved, but ultimately is the most interesting character because
Yeah.
of her complexity, of her
Yeah.
change on the dial. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and it feels authentic. And I do feel like she's prickly to Taku most of the film, but eventually she does sort of recognize within herself that she has been that way,
Mm.
and it's a too little, too late situation. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
tragic in a way,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm not really sure that the ending's happy, but I'm not sure like they get on a train or get away with each other at the end of the movie. It's kind of open ended. The music kind of hints that it's like, oh, here we go again, back into the cycle
Yeah.
of
Well, I think with them being older, I could see them kind of being like learning like
yes,
who they are now, and kind of not making the same mistakes of their past. So I did see it in a kind of romantic sense, I guess. Even though I am very much on the case of like Yukata and Taku should get together.
like I think so too. I think if they got the shit together, I think they'd actually be a perfect match for each other.
They
They
would
seem
be
to
great.
complement
They're
each
so
other
sweet.
perfectly.
They protested the holiday decision together. They got each other's backs. But it's 1990s Japan. I have no context for the kind of culture around that time in terms of how okay that would have been. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I was going to send you this. Did you know that during a scene at the school fair there you can see Porco Rosso is actually in the movie?
no way.
I'm
I
going to
did
send you
not
this.
know
I mean,
this.
like, not a picture of him. He is actually
Oh,
in the
what?
movie.
That
Yeah.
that bloody pig.
He's at it again.
That pig is everywhere.
So, yeah,
That's
so
nice. I don't
I just sent a
like
pic
that
of,
he's there. It
yeah,
just
I just
makes
sent a
sense.
picture of
He's
it.
a pig. All right, I'm having a look. Maybe I could put this
I can show it
photo
to
on
camera right
the
here as well for anybody watching. But yeah.
yes, for anybody watching. Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, there he is.
He's
Okay,
he's he's
that's
chilling
subtle
down.
enough. That's subtle enough that I'm happy with that. That's fine. It's a
They were
little
doing
in
it before
joke. I just
Pixar,
didn't want a pig walking around,
Yeah, just like
Yeah, it does
nice
make
to meet
sense
you.
in this world.
Yeah, yeah.
Are there any theories with the Ghibli universes? Like the way the Pixar films are like it's all part of the same timeline, and at
So
some point it all ends up with cars.
yeah.
Are there any theories that all the Ghibli films link together at all? Or
Like
not so much.
ultimately no. I think this was something that they kind of dabbled with for a couple of years in the early
Yeah,
90s and kind of like it was cute and then left it because in Porco Rosso they whenever he goes to get his plane repaired and we get to see the engine in the storeroom and it says Ghibli on the engine. That's a reference to that.
yes.
And in this film too, they also they're watching a cartoon and Ghibli comes on the screen also.
Does it?
Um
I thought it was like that Gundam thing.
Yeah, but there's Ghibli comes on the screen at some point.
Oh, does it? Oh, okay, fair
Yeah,
enough. Oh, actually, no, I think you're right. Yeah.
and yeah, so I think it's like
Sorry to question you,
no,
Chris.
it's okay. I think it's like 2 or 3 films they do it with, and then it's like, oh, okay, we're done with that. But they were doing it before Pixar, I suppose. So, yeah, no Pizza Planet here. No. Yeah, I mean, like, there's not really much more trivia behind the scenes, but I feel like this would have made a really fascinating documentary. I would love to see like a behind the scenes of how this was made, or catch up on the people like who made it and where they are today, because.
Like hearing like Miyazaki and Takahata giving them advice on certain things, that would be great.
Oh, 100%. I'd be so scared of making something for either of those guys. Have you ever, later on, Alex will explore, but there is documentary footage of like Miyazaki seeing his son's films, like Tales from Earth.
Yes.
And that is hard to watch.
Yes, there is. Yeah, I think you said we should do the documentary at some point closer to the end of the series, right?
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
when like his son Goro premiered Tales from Earthsea, he Miyazaki walked out of the premiere halfway through and the camera follows him. He's smoking in the
Ooh.
lobby and he just like and he never says anything to Goro after the film, and he just sent him a letter like a week later saying it was well intentioned and well made.
Ooh.
So oh yeah, so funny. I find it so
Yeah.
fascinating these guys who can make such really like yearning, longing pieces of art with such romantic characters, but they
Mm.
obviously struggle to kind of bring it to fruition in real life. But I guess that's art, and it's a vehicle for them, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it so good.
Or they care too much. Like, they're like,
Mm.
well, this isn't how I would have done it, and how I would have done it would have been perfection. But I would have been like, oi, Miyazaki, Porco Rosso was just all right, mate. He's a pig in a plane.
I won't stand for that.
I know, I'm only kidding, because I know you love Porco Rosso. I did kind of prefer Ocean Waves to Porco Rosso.
Like
But I would
I
have liked
like
to have
that.
known how they reacted to it. I think Takahata would have been like, "Oh yeah, I like this. This is kind of like only yesterday."
Yeah, I like Alex. I like you seem to be like liking the slice of life movies quite well, and I'm really
Mm.
excited for you. I'm not gearing it up because that's not the movie we're going to be watching next, but I'm really excited for you to watch Yoshifumi Kondo's film Whisper of the Heart,
Okay.
which comes very soon on the list, because that is a little bit of whimsy, but it's 90% a down to earth, really great slice of life movie. So hopefully you enjoy that one too. If
100%.
that is your thing, which it seems to be.
It does seem to be so far. It does seem to be, but maybe we can catch up on that in a minute. Was there anything else you wanted to say about Ocean Waves?
I really like it. It's just I really love this movie
Yeah,
a lot.
it's
Um,
good.
and I feel again disappointed the younger self that I didn't watch it. I would urge everybody who heard that this film is like, it's okay. If you like slower paced, and it is 72-minute, but it's still a slower paced film, and you like Takahata's work, and you
Mm.
just like to watch really cool looking nostalgia bit 90s Ghibli film,
Yeah,
which obviously it wasn't nostalgia bit at the time because it was just the time period. But
yeah,
it's a great film about longing, and if you have that little piece of teenage yearning still within you, it's going to resonate with you in some level. It's emotional highs come from subtlety, and there's a lot of stuff that's not in the script that I feel like it's just visually there. And I think if you lean into the movie pretty well, you're gonna have a really good time with it. And I think it's a film that I could see people obsessing over if they can get something different from it every time.
mm.
And obviously, we were talking about other relationships that could have happened in the movie. The film acts in a way where it's like if you were to reorder scenes, you would get a completely different feeling about these
Mm.
characters. So it's going to be a really fun film to revisit for me,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be listening to the soundtrack for the next week. I love it. Great.
Moon River.
Don't. It's not Moon River. It's not Moon River. Get that out of my head.
It is really cozy though, and honestly, like a lot of those landscapes just look like paintings, and obviously
Yeah.
they are. But they just look incredible. And I was, yeah, you always talk about how Ghibli is quite a cozy, set of films, and I was getting some good cozy vibes with this. I was getting some good cozy vibes.
And they're always talking
Um,
about studying, and they do it as well. They're good at
yeah.
studying, and they always make you feel like you're not working hard enough for these movies.
Yeah, there is that. There is that.
The Japanese work ethic.
Absolutely, absolutely. We didn't know how to do a kind of like trivia, fun game show segment for this because neither of us had seen it prior, so we weren't sure how we'd be able to tune it in. But I did think since this was Kris completing the Ghibli series, it would be good to maybe just kind of like check in on a silly little ranking thing, and I just want to see where it lands in your list at the moment, Kris. I'm sure that list changes all the time as you watch these films, and obviously I'm watching them for the first time, and I can maybe talk about where it ranks in my list, in my Ghibli tier list.
Well,
So,
I'm interested eventually in what you get to because I am a unreliable narrator on this thing because I love them all to
well, yes, of
varying
course.
degree.
I'm sure at the very end of this series we will
Mm.
chuck it in,
But
ch-
I'm like you.
chuck in like a top 10 or something.
I'm like you in a way. I love Miyazaki whenever the highs of fantasy that he reaches. I like them more whenever they're grounded in a little bit of weirdness. I love Spirited Away. I love Ponyo because it's grand, it's operatic, and it's very fairy tale, but it's in a way that's kind of just very specific to him
Mm,
and nobody else is doing. So I'm not as on board when it comes to film like later on, like Howl's Moving Castle, which is just fairy tale extravaganza. And
hmm
sometimes that's a little bit of a turn off to me. I really do like a slice of life. I love seeing a dirty, rusty pole in the subway in an anime movie. I love seeing like analog details like you were talking about, like cans of Sprite and just like really lived in worlds that you can look around the frame and you're just like, I feel the texture there.
hmm
So I do lean into ones like that. So that kind of makes me feel that after another viewing or two, that this one could even go kind of, can maybe scratch into the top 10 um, in that sort of territory. But I'm not sure we're there yet. I think if I laid them all out in front of me, I'd be very surprised by how many of them would be making that top 10 list, man. But
well,
it's
I've
definitely not on the bottom. It's definitely not
yeah,
on the bottom.
I
100%.
think this has been our 10th episode, right,
Right.
of the
Yeah.
Ghibli series. Though I have seen 11 Ghibli films because we did Spirited Away as part of our greatest films of all time series. So I have a top 11 now. So I can tell you what doesn't scrape the top 10 so far is Castle in the Sky. That one right down at the
Which is
bottom.
a really surprising movie as to like I get it. I get it. I get why you would say that. And I have some reservations of that movie too, but a lot of people have it as like their favorite Ghibli film. It's one
Mm,
that surprises me that always comes up very high on lists,
mm.
even though I feel like you're right. I think Miyazaki does the same things but better in different
Yeah.
places. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting, interesting. Then yeah, like my top three at the moment, I've got Nausicaa, Only Yesterday, and Grave of the Fireflies. The
Oh, so
only
Nausicaa's
two,
number three? I
no,
thought
no,
that
no,
was
Nausicaa's number one, Only
yeah,
Yesterday number two, Grave of the Fireflies number three.
cool.
So the only two that I would see like switching around at the moment is kind of like Nausicaa and Only Yesterday. Like I really love both of those films. So at the moment, either of them could be my number one. Where I put Ocean Waves, I've put it eighth at the moment, which seems
Okay.
low, but like we're in the 3.5 star films here. So like the ones that it's on the same kind of playing field with that I've rated all 3.5 stars is My Neighbor Totoro and Kiki's Delivery Service. So it's
Sure.
in that echelon for me of Ghibli films.
Yeah.
Then you go into the 3 star Porco Rosso, Castle of Cagliostro, and then lower again for Castle in the Sky. So
So,
that's kind of where
so
I am.
can I ask you what is the big bridge? What's the big gap? What gets you to like say Nausicaa is like my favorite as opposed to um like something like Ocean Waves? Is it the type of story like kind of cozy story for you only go so far because of the nature of its genre, or is it?
Well, I don't think so because Only
Hmm,
Yesterday is quite a slice of life film, right?
it is, but like we were saying earlier, I guess it makes it into an epic in its own way. I guess
Mm,
you're right. Yeah, yeah, you're right though. It is part of that genre, but it does
yeah.
something kind of fantastical at the end, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, a little bit fantastical. But then same thing happens in Ocean Waves. It's a
Mm.
train journey and people waiting on train stations for each other and
Trains are great in
trains
movies,
are
right?
great.
They're so
Trains are
romantic.
great.
Yeah.
Why does Ocean Waves not go up further? Only because I think it's like nearly really good. And I
Yeah.
really like it, but I think it's just like nearly really good. And it can move around, it's early
I think
days.
as well.
But I don't think it would not be Only Yesterday or Nausicaa for me at this point.
I think with Ocean Waves as well, like because we know more now about the production behind it and knowing that it was overstretched, what it was originally intended to be, you can easily fill in the gaps as to why maybe you have some frustrations with the story or
Mm-hmm.
why the story wasn't longer because, they're kind of easily self-explanable. Um,
Mm.
yeah, so yeah, no, I get Nausicaa is amazing. Like, that's a great pick. I really love that you resonated with that one
One
because
of the
it's like
first as well.
one of the first, and it's like the first proper Joe Hisashi score, and I think it's his best. Like,
Mm.
I've listened to that one in the car a few months ago, and I'm just like, the opening piece of music from that movie is like epic. It's really
Yeah.
really cool.
I
A really
think
sweet
as
movie.
well, like maybe because it's the only one I watched with somebody. I watched that one with my dad, Nausicaa.
Hmm.
So maybe it was like having somebody to kind of bounce off a little bit and be like, "This is pretty cool, right?"
Just
Like
imagine
it's
what
weird. And both of us were very new to Ghibli, you know. Like my dad had never seen any of them, and I'd only seen a couple of them. So I was like,
he,
"This is weird, but I like this."
you both took a leap of faith that day.
We really did. We really did. And yeah, I don't know. You know me. I like big sweeping and emotions. That hits me like cinematically in a good place.
Nice.
So both Nausicaa and Only Yes, they do that, but do that in their very own ways. Um,
Cool.
yeah,
What
I
do
don't
you
know.
what are you most excited from on the list?
Oh, let me get the list up. Let me get the list up of like what we've got coming up, and I'll let you know. So Howl's Moving Castle. You know, I've heard a lot of people put that as their number one. So I know you just said that maybe it's not your favorite,
It's
but that
it's my least favorite Miyazaki film,
yeah.
but
Uh,
I'd be interested. It
so
is the
I'm
prettiest one though.
yeah. So I'm quite interested by that one. Quite interested by Ponyo. Uh,
because it's my most watched film of all time.
and I'm quite interested by My Neighbor the Yamadas, which I wouldn't have been if it wasn't for Only Yesterday. But I've heard that kind of is like closer in nature to that type of film.
It's nothing. It's not like anything you've seen so far.
Okay, well then I
It's the
have no idea.
Japanese version of The Simpsons, basically.
Oh, okay. All
It's
right,
a
then
yeah.
maybe I have no idea. And then obviously our kind of big finale until Ghibli produce more films, I guess,
Yeah,
is The Boy and the Heron. So excited for that one as well. So, but I mean, like all of them, I'm intrigued by,
that's good.
and clearly still don't know much about them. So, but yeah,
Yeah, you got a good journey to go still, and a
are
lot of
there any you're excited for me to see? Are there any that you're like this might do it for Alex?
um. I am excited for you to see Whisper of the Heart, only
Mm-hmm.
because of the nature of you liking Only Yesterday and this, and if you
Okay.
definitely like those tactile, like definitely gritty streets aesthetic of a Ghibli film, rainy days, and like
Yeah.
sort of following a smaller story, I think you're going to really enjoy that one. Now our next one is going to really intrigue you, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Well. Do you want to introduce that one
yeah,
ready for next week, or do you, or were there any other films you wanted to kind of mention that you're interested for me to see?
look, I'm really interested. I'm really interested in Porco Rosso. Um, I think no,
Wait,
not
no,
Porco Rosso.
we've seen
Sorry,
that one.
I'm thinking I've got Pio in my head,
I was
and
like,
it's
there's another
Porco
one.
Rosso too, but he's like Terminator, and he's come back. He's a
I
melted
thought I'd
face.
already seen the last of that pig.
No, not Porco Rosso. Ponyo, I'm interested in because you know that I hold that film very dear to my heart.
Mm.
So I do.
What
Hmm?
what are your top three? Did I ask you this?
Yeah,
What are your like right now? If you had to name like three
right.
Ghibli films at the top upper echelon.
Yeah, I have to say Ponyo because it's the one I watch the most.
Yeah.
I only yesterday.
Oh.
That's the one because it's the only one that makes me cry.
Mm.
And then
Some
depends.
say
The other one that
love.
I think the one I think you're most likely to love, and I'm putting myself on the line here, is Far to Come still, and one that I fell in love with instantly, and is Lauren's favorite Ghibli film too.
Ah, producer
The Wind
Lauren.
Rises,
The Wind
which was
Rises.
another
Oh yes, I have heard of this one. Yeah.
yes. I think you'll like that one a lot.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
It's got some devastating elements of Grave of the Fireflies mixed in with.
No.
Yeah.
I don't want to see any more starving kids.
I really did think this was supposed to be the last Miyazaki film, so bear that in mind, I suppose, when you watch that one.
Maybe there's a bit of that, so I gotcha.
The next one, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with.
Introduce me. Yes. Yep. This is the testicles one.
Yeah, that's all it is. Pompoko, literally translating to testicle. No, Pompoko.
Is it?
Pompoko well, I think that translates into literally it is a Japanese raccoon. So it is a community of magical Pompoko raccoons that live in a forest. This is basically like an adult prototype for Over the Hedge. Remember that movie? The DreamWorks movie?
With the squirrel?
Yeah. Voiced by Steve Carell, yeah. But this time it's a group of raccoons that are sentient in our world, because it's like Toy Story, where it's like, you just got to buy in. Like, they're all talking to each other, and you can kind of buy into that. They live in this community that's being threatened by external forces. Man is starting to deforestation in full effect. They're bringing the excavators, the bulldozers, and they're knocking down the forest. Pompoko follows a series of mishaps, hijinks, and escapades of them fighting against the humans and trying to repel them from the forest. And it is both quite effective in its environmental messaging. It's kind of like dark at times. It's also really funny and really weird. And you're definitely going to be seeing Takahata in a completely different stretch of the muscle from Only Yesterday and Grave of the Fireflies. It's not the same guy. 90s Takahata is a very different beast. So yeah, really excited to catch up with you that one. It's the most outlier Ghibli film of them all, but I love it. So
it is funny that this film does not seem like where I would think Takahata would go after Only Yesterday. I thought he would be sticking to kind of like more grounded in realism, slice of life films, whereas kind of Miyazaki went big and grand with fantastical things. And I appreciate this maybe isn't as fantastical because it's about real animals, but just the fact that they can do magic things with their testicles is quite funny.
Well, I guess, he thinks differently to you and I.
He does. Well, maybe he thinks very similarly to, I like a slice of life film and I like jokes about testicles.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've been talking to me about this off air too. It's the reason why you're going to watch it a day earlier than a day later, just to see what those testicles are doing. Anyway, enough testicle talk.
Enough testicles.
Hopefully everyone has enjoyed the episode for this week. We are trying to get on top of the Ghiblis a little bit more this year.
Aiming for one a month. So, Pompoko, we should be back in your ears with a Ghibli Angle episode in March.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. That has been the episode for this week. The only podcast probably to talk about ocean waves this year so far, but glad to do it. If you've enjoyed it, make sure to give us a 5-star rating or review. We really do appreciate it. If you'd like to keep up to date with us, please make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well at The Film Angle.
We are taking a quick break next week, so catch us in a couple of weeks for more cinematic discussions. Goodbye.
See you later.
Bye-bye.